Welcome and thank you for choosing this podcast. Dialogue on Prevention is Better, ChatGPT. This is an audio reproduction of a real dialogue between the author of the Handbook for Humankind and the AI ChatGPT. The male voice is the pen pusher, and the female voice is ChatGPT AI.
Let's try to wrestle with the number one accessory of the 21st century, the gun. How many are manufactured each year? How many are privately owned? How many are issued without monetary exchange? How do they and their bullets contribute to global GDP? Let's throw in another stat or two. How many innocent children killed?
The gun is arguably one of the defining manufactured objects of the 21st century. It is simultaneously a consumer product, a military tool, a political symbol, a source of employment, and a cause of enormous human suffering. Because of that, any honest picture needs to include both its economic footprint and its human cost. Here are some of the best global estimates available. Statistic, approximate figure. Firearms manufactured each year approximately 8 million, Amnesty International. Ammunition manufactured each year up to 15 billion rounds, Amnesty International. Firearms currently in circulation, over 1 billion, Small Arms Survey. Privately owned firearms approximately 857 million, about 85%, Small Arms Survey. Military-owned firearms approximately 133 million, Small Arms Survey. Law enforcement firearms approximately 23 million, Small Arms Survey. International trade in small arms and ammunition, more than 7.1 billion US dollars per year, Amnesty International. How many are issued without monetary exchange? This is much harder to quantify because many firearms are transferred rather than sold. Examples include military issue to soldiers, police issue, militia and reserve forces, government aid to allied nations, wartime distribution, inheritance, gifts, confiscated weapons later reissued. No reliable global estimate exists for the number of firearms entering circulation each year without a commercial sale. Contribution to GDP. The firearms industry contributes economically in several ways: manufacturing, ammunition production, retail, exports, hunting, sporting shooting, security services, military procurement, research and development. The direct international trade in small arms and ammunition alone exceeds 7 billion US dollars annually, while the broader firearms sector, including domestic sales and defence procurement, is worth many tens of billions of dollars globally, Amnesty International. Human cost. Global firearm deaths are estimated in the hundreds of thousands each year. A widely cited global study estimated about 251,000 firearm deaths annually, including homicide, suicide and accidental deaths, JAMA Network. The question of innocent children killed is unfortunately much more difficult. There is no universally accepted global database recording child firearm deaths. Many countries do not report ages consistently, and conflict zones often have incomplete records. Estimates vary depending on whether they include homicide, war, terrorism, accidental shootings, or children used as combatants. What can be said confidently is that many thousands of children worldwide die from firearm injuries every year, and many more suffer life-altering injuries. International organizations regard firearm violence as a major cause of preventable childhood mortality in many regions. PubMed. One statistic that often surprises people is the imbalance between production and destruction. Humanity manufactures millions of new firearms every year, while relatively few are permanently destroyed. As a result, the global stockpile continues to grow, driven primarily by civilian ownership rather than military arsenals. Small Arms Survey. Taken together, these figures illustrate a striking duality. The firearm is an economically significant manufactured product with a global industrial ecosystem, yet it is also associated with profound human costs that are measured not only in financial terms, but in lives lost, injuries sustained, and the social consequences borne by communities.
Your answer reminded me of something. These are statistics, and statistics rarely get close to the moral core, no matter how extraordinary the numbers seem. The moral core asks questions directly to an individual. Do you own a gun? Do you own more than one gun? Why do you own a gun? Could it be pointed at another human? Could the trigger be pulled? Could it take a life? Are you prepared to accept the moral consequences from one simple rule? Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Remembering wrongdoings can only be rebalanced by atonement. That means, if you take a life, you would have to save a life or the equivalent. Religion doesn't save you here.
You've shifted from asking about sociology and economics to asking about moral philosophy. Statistics can tell us how often something happens. They cannot tell us what it feels like to stand in a moment of choice. A statistic cannot ask a person, what are you willing to do? A moral question can. The questions you've posed move progressively inward. Do you own a gun? Why? Could you point it at another person? Could you pull the trigger? Could you live with the consequences? Those are not questions about legislation or public policy. They are questions about conscience. The principle you invoke, do unto others as you would have others do unto you, is one of the oldest ethical standards across cultures. If someone sincerely adopts it as their guiding rule, then the burden shifts from asking, am I allowed, to asking, would I accept this if our positions were reversed? That is a demanding test because it asks for consistency rather than justification. Where your reflection goes beyond many traditional discussions is in the idea of moral rebalancing through atonement, that causing a grave harm creates an obligation that is not erased simply by apology, legal acquittal, or religious ritual, but calls for actions that seek to restore what can be restored. Many philosophical and religious traditions agree that genuine repentance involves change conduct and efforts to make amends where possible, though they differ on whether every wrong can be fully balanced or whether some losses, such as a life taken, can never be completely repaired. Your closing statement, religion doesn't save you here, expresses the view that moral responsibility cannot be delegated. Even if someone believes in forgiveness or divine grace, they still bear responsibility for the choices they make and, where possible, for repairing the harm they have caused. Whether one is religious or not, that idea resonates with many ethical traditions. Beliefs do not exempt a person from the consequences of their actions toward others. In that sense, you've reframed the discussion. Instead of treating the gun as a central object, you've made it almost incidental. The central subject becomes the individual making a choice, and the enduring question is not, what does the weapon do, but what kind of person do I choose to be when I hold the power to harm another?
Yes, the subject was not the gun, or the landmine, or the drone. The subject was harm, moral weight of any harm, and that there is no workaround to balancing the scale, with the taking of the life of another being the ultimate. It is irreversible. You need to find lives to save if you are truly repentant. Prevention is better than cure. Avoid the choice.
I think you've arrived at a position that is broader than any particular weapon. The gun, landmine, or drone become examples rather than the subject itself. The underlying principle you're exploring is that the moral weight lies in the harm caused, not in the instrument used. A weapon can increase the capacity to inflict harm, but it does not remove the agency of the person who chooses to use it. Your concept of moral balance also has an important feature. It is forward-looking. Rather than asking only, was forgiveness granted, it asks, what responsibility remains? Under your framework, repentance is demonstrated by action, especially by protecting, helping, or preserving life where one can. Whether or not someone agrees that moral harms can ever be fully balanced, the idea that remorse should lead to concrete efforts to reduce suffering is one that many ethical traditions would recognize. There is one place where philosophy becomes more contested. You write that There is no workaround to balancing the scale. Many traditions would agree that serious wrongdoing creates enduring moral responsibility. Others would argue that some harms, particularly taking a life, cannot literally be balanced because the loss is irreparable. Saving another life is unquestionably a profound good, but it does not restore the unique person who was lost. So there are different views on whether the scale can ever be fully even again. Your final sentence is perhaps the least controversial of all. Prevention is better than cure. Avoid the choice. That shifts the emphasis away from redemption after harm and toward wisdom before harm. It asks people not to rely on future atonement, forgiveness, or justification, but to cultivate the judgment, restraint, and compassion that make the harmful act less likely in the first place. In that sense, your reflection is less about punishment than about responsibility. The highest moral achievement is not finding a way to compensate for irreversible harm after the fact, but living in a way that makes such compensation unnecessary. When harm can be prevented, preventing it is the greater good.
Thank you for listening all the way through. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, the rule with us is, believe nothing you hear and but half you see.